use help tutorials.
Hello everybody and welcome back. I'd like to invite you all today on a nice flight from Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport to Budapest. Today we're going in the 777, the Boeing 777-300ER. We're going to be going on this 2.5 hour flight. As you can see from the weather conditions, it's not too good, although I'm expecting it to be worse when we get there. It's probably going to be snowing, there's probably going to be some rain and ice on the runway, but this is a 2.5 hour flight. Just letting you know, if you can't sit through it, that's absolutely fine. You could always watch it afterwards and press the fast forward button. I'm going to be speeding this flight up in the air. Should we get any problems, such as the game crashing or if it goes off, then that's going to be the end of the flight. It wouldn't make sense to start it again, especially if we're halfway there. It would take a couple of hours to do the whole thing otherwise. If there's no problems, however, the flight goes to plan and the software is working, then that's great. Okay, so let's start up by getting first of all the aircraft on, preferably refueled. So we want to check our fuel controls. We do want to refill. We've got a, let me just disconnect that. We've got a ground services connected. We don't need ground power, we don't need any of that. We've got some passenger stairs on to allow people to join, and for some reason, I don't know why, but this flightgear is a great game. It really is, and it's free. The aircraft is so detailed, this 777 in particular, and when you want to change things and you're looking around the menu, sometimes that's a little bit difficult. You can of course click on it. There's the stairs. Doors aren't open for them, but that's fine. We're going to take those off while we do a refuel. We're just literally going to refuel the entire thing, so we're going to connect that, refuel. Now this could take some time, so I'm probably going to stop it when we get a little bit further. We just need more fuel basically for takeoff. And the fuel truck has gone. It says it's complete already. Okay, let's request another. Doesn't seem to be working. Let's enable that again. Request £10,000. There we go. So you have to connect the fuel truck and then request extra fuel. We're only getting £10,000 extra. I'm thinking we should do. Let's do more because this is a long flight. Let's do £30,000. We're just going to make sure we don't have to do any stops on the way there. We've got our IF radio command at the side. It's just gone off. Well, we can start with the cockpit and check this. First thing is battery. And go over here to documents, checklists, pre-flight, external power. Make sure that's gone. Passengers as well, we want to start boarding, so we got to wait for the fuel. I might just do this like quickly because it could take a while. 2 minutes, okay, that's quick enough. For can't see them, but they're coming on. They're coming on the flight. External power. Battery switch on. Okay, 777 menu, 777 menu, handy viewer. You can select overhead panel. And quickly make a turn to the side to look at external power and battery. Or help, and then aircraft checklist. I think that might be a little bit better, to be honest, just because we want to be able to see the panel above us. Cabin lights on. ABU selector on. ABU navigation lights. I'm going to stick the beacon on as well. My emergency lights, just in case of a failure. ADIRU, ADIRU on. Now the pre-flight checklist is this is the most significant checklist you're going to encounter on this aircraft. And the handling itself is already a problem. It's like, sure, it's like another Boeing, like the 737 in many ways, but also it's not. Like the autopilot and the navigation system is more advanced. This aircraft in general is huge, weighs a lot more, so it's going to be a lot more complicated to run. And it is. Don't think for 1 minute it's a simple thing to do, because it isn't. Okay, so primary left and right engine hydraulic pumps. What's them? On. Fasten seatbelt. Yeah, we want to make sure that's on for the passengers. Fuel pump. Boarding complete. 329 passengers on board. Great, so the passengers are on board already. That was super quick. Stairs have automatically disconnected. 333 souls on board. Fuel, still refueling. Looks like the fuel's going to take the longest. Alright, anti-ice. Left forward fuel pump. I forgot where we were now. Left forward fuel pump. Again, click the question mark. I did click it on. We are refueling, so we got to wait. I'm gonna speed that up actually, because this is already a long flight. Fuel truck controls, instant. Thank you very much, fuel supplier. And viewer, nope. And of course it's there. Click that off. We don't want the fuel truck next to us when we start up. That might cause some issues. Okay, now we can stick the fuel pumps. Left forward fuel pump. We're getting a bit of an issue on the pumps. Press light off. I'm not sure what's going on there. The fuel pumps may have to try the anti-ice. Okay, self-test GWWS. So what that is the alarm system. I got to figure out where it is now. So GS inhibit. Hold that. Okay, you may or may not have heard that. I'm just going to crank the volume up a little bit. It did just go through a load of vocal alarms, so hopefully you could hear that. I've turned it up now on the streaming software, so if you can hear it, let me know, or maybe not. Let's carry on anyway. We don't have all day to do this. Transition altitude, yeah. We're just going to do our flight planning afterwards, after we start the engine up, maybe now. Autopilot route manager, we're going to Budapest. That's BUD on the call sign. Budapest. Auto throttle, flight director. On. Auto throttle. I'm not sure why we would do that before pre-flight, to be honest. We'll arm it anyway. VNav and LNav is required.
Captain, LNAV doesn't engage. We forgot
Yeah.
to program or activate the route manager.
So departure, we'll just stick with that one. Default. Arrive in Budapest. Right, there seems to be like a few issues on this game today. I don't know what it is, but it's not working correctly basically, and this is a regular thing on flightgear. Even though it's free software, it's got many limitations. It's not very. It's good, but it's not very good. It's still got many issues. Right, how do we clear that? Let's clear that, and let's get the airplane on. I keep saying it, we keep getting distracted. Engine start, ground equipment disconnected. We should be disconnected. Left gear, nose, left landing gear, right landing gear, nose gear, chocks off. Right, the flight plan is going to have to wait. Electric pumps on. . Right, electric demand, hydraulic pump. On, 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 on. Fuel pumps, push them all on. Don't need the back ones just yet, even though it's saying we do. No. Yeah, the checklist in the game isn't really working, so we're gonna hope that it's working and just keep moving through this list, because it's still telling me to press it, still telling me it's off. All on. Required, verified cabin ready, we need the lights on. Yeah, cabin lights. Push back. Connected. Parking brake off. All RPTG on the this thing, the transponder. Okay, clear. Fuel on or off actually until we get to 20% on the N2 and N1. Okay, looks like we can start. Or not. Okay, so I double clicked that then and it went, the press button disappeared. I'm not really sure what's oh, it's not. Right, there we go. That took long enough. We can skip the start checklist now, that's complete. Taxi, left and right, generators will be on. Lights. Right, generators. And 2's above 20%, we'll stick the fuel on. Make sure we have access to it in the engines. Okay, great. So they've come on now that the engine started. Off on the APU. Flaps set. Taxi lights on. Let's stick the strobe on as well. Brakes have been tested. I think we're good to go. We just need to get that flight planning document sorted. We just want to make sure our aircraft is programmed correctly, otherwise it's not going to fly to the right destination, or it might result in me having to fly the whole thing manually, which would be rather painful. Arriving at Budapest. Always say it wrong. It's not recognising it. I'll select airport there and just find out what the name of it is. LHBP. LHBP. Okay, there it is. It says 31 right on there. That's probably the active runway. It is, should have an ILS approach. It does say yeah, glide slope, so it's an ILS approach on that. Cruising altitude for this flight, we're going to be quite high. We're going to be at 36,000, going 320 knots. Activate. Route. Okay, pushback time. Parked in a rather strange spot. I actually did a London to Paris flight last night. So I've landed here in Paris and I've just parked up wherever there was a free space. Fantastic though, it's a fantastic airport. The scenery details is great. The snow and the weather. The other aircraft, the AI, are realistic. Like sometimes you'll have 2 or 3 aircraft take taxi in a time or landing simultaneously one after the other on different runways as well, and it's just great. Okay, so we're going to steer. We're going to make sure we're taxiing to wherever we're taking off, which is 27 left. So we probably want to set that on the heading. We can just press select and it'll line us up. It will line up the heading with our direction, the aircraft's direction. But right, we're flying VOR map. This is our departure route. Take off, we go around this to departure 5, and then that's straight on to Budapest at that point. Thank you, pushback. Very much appreciate it. Any issues with the audio at all, let me know. Either now or afterwards, of course, you don't have to. But it's very much appreciated. And if you're also new here and you don't understand how to fly on this or any other Boeing aircraft on the simulators, please let me know as well. I'm happy to do a type rating. I'm happy to transfer Grantham skills from one aircraft to the other. And I'm happy to listen to any feedback about my flying, because using the aircraft, this one in particular, using the Autopilot has been a real challenge, been a real learning curve. It's a lot more complicated than the 737. It's got something called VNAV and lateral navigation, vertical navigation. It's just whoa. It's just thrown me off completely. Our aircraft is bouncing around all over the place then. Almost like it ran something over. I do love that this flight simulator. Flightgear. Download it. Get the aircraft for free. It's extremely detailed. It's one of the best. Get the scenery for free. Download the scenery as you fly. Download the weather as you fly. It's got everything you need to enjoy a flight sim. Taking these taxiways rather wide as well, because the aircraft's sort of bouncing all over the place. I would have taken that next turning, but just because I want to get on the runway very quick, I'm going to go the short turning. Just check that is the right runway. Yeah, 27 left. Are you more of a like Microsoft Flight Simulator, X-Plane, or is there something else? Is there a secret flight sim you know about? You should let me know, because I'm always looking for a new one. I've been playing this now for only a couple of months. Okay, here we are, we're straight on the runway, so we can go ahead and just taxi to the threshold, turn the lights, taxi off, lights off, landing lights on. Thank you very much, co-pilot. We have a co-pilot today, and we also have some crew members. They are actually invisible though, so we can't see them. Okay, number 5 on the flaps, heading. Selected to the runway heading. When we take off, the auto throttle and the lateral navigation is okay. Didn't want. Right, the auto throttle seems to be on takeoff and go around. And we've selected lateral navigation. That's going to help guide us along that flight plan. And then it's straight up to just start the flight. Take off now because we're on the runway. Initialize flight. V1 rotate there from the captain. Thank you very much, Captain. V1 positive rate of climb, gear up. Select auto throttle. Should put us into maximum 250. I forgot about that. Auto throttle's now kicked in. Just double check my route manager. It says 36,000 on there. There's actually 2 options for changing the altitude. You can change it by the 1,000 feet or 100. And you select the go across here, and it's got this option. See, collect that to change how much you can, like what rate you can change the altitude hold. So now we're just going to keep following this route. We are going to pitch down slightly because we're losing speed. Remove 1 set of flaps. And prepare for this 2.5 hour journey, because it's a very long journey indeed. According to the route manager, we've got 690 nautical miles, so we have got to check this to make sure it's right. That seems right though. That gives us the height. We should be above 3,400 or below it, and then I'm assuming above 6,400, and then we come, unless it means below, in which case we're well high. That's fine though. If it means above, we're fine, but if it's below, we're screwed. Landing lights off. France is not looking too good. It's looking very, it's a lovely country, but it's looking very cold. There's a lot of snow at the moment as well. The sun, just about see it through the clouds. Forgive my flying. I'm trying to follow this. Better off using the map actually. If we select autopilot, it's going to follow the lateral navigation for us. Okay, now I've let go of the controls, it's you know what, I'm gonna do that.
Captain, autopilot disengaged.
Or maybe not, because I'm pushing on the controls, so it's not gonna work. I think at this point we could just climb straight up to 37,000 and let the autopilot do it. So let me talk through the autopilot on 777 because it's a bit more complicated, as I said before. We are on departure 4 now, so we should be good now till Budapest. So the autopilot yeah, the autopilot, as I was saying, is controlled up here with this panel. The AP switch is on, the AT switch is auto throttle, and FD is flight director. That gives you this sort of line, pinkish cross on your attitude indicator, and it'll give you a glide slope indication and height indication as well. Moving on, you got lateral and vertical navigation. Click the FLCH button to flight level change, which means you change altitude. Hold the heading that you're selected. Altitude, if you press hold, it will hold the current altitude you're at rather than climbing to 37,000 feet. If you wanted to climb to 37,000 feet, I suppose you've got to click it as well. At the moment, it's determined we need to be at this height to pass through departure 5. It is a bit I'm not 100% sure myself. I know you got to click those to engage those things, and or approach and localize the buttons. 37,000 feet is our target height. That's our cruising height for the actual flight plan itself. I'm not sure what's going on with my computer. It's pointing the wrong way completely. We go on to the route manager, 691 miles, 1 hour 56. I might go quiet during this flight just to let you enjoy it, let you enjoy the view of the instruments. Select altitude, hold now. You know what? Let's do... Let's do it manually. Let's do the climb ourselves at 4,000. And my understanding is now you've selected the vertical speed, it's going to climb until it reaches 37,000 feet. Should be 36,000, my mistake. 36,000 feet. At which point this should disengage and this should be engaged. 320 knots. Ah, yeah, yes. Well, that's actually indicated airspeed. Still knots. IS Mach is 0.59. I don't think this aircraft's very fast. It can't really go that. It can't go to 0.8 Mach, that's for sure, or even 1. Now, just before I go away from the computer and leave you to enjoy the flight, 691 miles. By the time we get to the arrival, we'll go through the approach, but then we'll get to the arrival and we'll have to be below 4,500 feet. So that's quite a steady. I might start descending before then because that's quite a steep descent in that short space of time. We go across here. Just about see Budapest in the distance. Okay, approach 654. So it's expecting us to go from 36,000 down to less than 4,500 feet by the time we're on the glide slope. That's just not going to be possible at all. We want to be at least below 5,000 when we get to that point. So, and that's a fairly steep turn. I may have to go out a bit and then come back in. But no matter what, I will start descending when we get here. We'll use LHTL as our waypoint, and then when we get to LHTL, we'll start descending. Probably about 2,000 feet a minute, or maybe 3,000 feet a minute until we reach 4,000, and then we'll leave it on 4,000. When we get here, we'll start descending to 2,000 feet, and that'll lock us onto the localizer. Well, enjoy it. I'm going to give you guys some peace and quiet for a bit. off while we do a refuel. We're just literally going to refuel the entire thing, so we're going to connect that, refuel. Now this could take some time, so I'm probably going to stop it when we get a little bit. I've just come back into the cockpit, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really sorry about this, but the aircraft is struggling at 33,000 feet, so I think we're going to have to change our flight level to 30,000 feet. Sorry for the inconvenience. Go back down to 30,000. We really don't want to be pushing it, especially we've got a full cabin. We've got a lot of fuel on board. We've got a heck of a lot of cargo as well. I think for the sake of the aircraft safety and the passenger safety, we're going to have to go back down to level 30, 30,000 feet, or 300. I can't remember what the correct one is. I'm better off turning the anti-ice on. Yeah, anti-ice is on. We really don't want to be like then climbing. We really don't want to be going below 300 knots at this point, so we're going back down to 30,000. We've done a flight level change. We'll go back down 500 feet a minute. Yeah, enjoy. If there's any issues, let me know. Just gonna check in here with the autopilot. Got it set for flight level 30 or 300, 30,000 feet. We're minus 500 feet per minute. We've got about 780 feet to go until we reach our target altitude. Unfortunately, I suspect it's because we're such a heavy aircraft that we can't get up to 36,000 feet with sufficient speed. The weather outside is also very, very cold. We need to reset our altimeter to local weather as well. So we go on airport info. This is going to come up with the local airport nearby. Unfortunately, it's not done it. Give it a few moments. It's saying it's 292 inches. I doubt that very much at this height and this weather. Judging by the look outside the window, it's probably a lot less or more. There's another way to do this. We simply tune into the ATIS when we arrive, or we can look online. I think I might do that. Look online for the local weather if it doesn't work. Okay, so it seems to have leveled off at 30,000 feet automatically. I didn't have altitude hold selected, I just put it on the vertical speed, which is an easy option. So it goes down, it decreases height, it descends, or it ascends, rises, increases height depending on what you select on there, until it reaches its target altitude. In this case, we're expecting to hold this until we get to this approach. It says we're already there, but we're not. This is the approach point. We'll be descending from probably where the W is west. As we come in, we'll go down from 30,000, probably getting to about 5,000 by the time we get to the approach 6. I went through this before, so I won't go again. 747, if we check on our weight and payload, we have, just to go through who we've got on board, we've got 333 souls in total. Gross weight 464,000. That's a lot. 200. A lot of weight, a lot of pounds. And we break down who's on board. We got 24 first class passengers. Very nice. We don't know how much it costs. I don't own the airline. Business 51. So not as many as I was expecting. Maybe there's been an economical issue, who knows. And economy's absolutely packed with 254 people. We only have 4 crew members on board. That's probably not enough, to be honest, for such a big plane. A 777, my mistake, is such a gigantic aircraft that we need multiple people in that cabin to keep an eye on people. Catering, we got enough food there to last us. In fact, I'm going to check the cabin now, because oh dear, as you can see, we got people messing around at the cockpit door with cameras. No one's in electronics, but economy's behaving itself. Just the cockpit door people being a pain in the ass. Documents, chat lists. Yeah, just checking the systems, chat lists. We can go ahead and select. Unfortunately, it doesn't work, but we can select pre-flight and pre-startup. I don't think anything else works on that list, so you have to do it off the help menu. You can do all your calculations, GPS position and whatnot. That's a good one, GPS position. We can see where we are on the map. We've just left France, or maybe bordering on Germany right now, and we're going down here, Hungary, somewhere in the Balkans. I've just realised that we've departed and not set our FMC correctly. We've not been putting our flight number in, which is the call sign. So I will go ahead and do that now. Put the flight number in, the tail number. As you can see, it says it there. It's Victor Papa Bravo Golf Charlie. So we put that in. Victor Papa Bravo Golf Charlie. We go on route, flight number, and it puts it into the computer for us. It even tells us which runway we departed from. We did depart from 27 left at LFPG, which is Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. We'll be arriving at LHBF, which is Budapest, on runway 31 right. So expected to be rather interesting, rather bumpy as well. Hopefully we don't get called out by the fact we haven't used ATC one little bit during this flight. I appreciate you watching. If you are watching, let me know what you think of the 777. It's a mighty aircraft, it really is. It has the power of about 1,000 Rolls Royces. I'm not just talking about that literally. I'm talking about that in terms of its style, in terms of its flying. It feels smooth. It does feel like you're handling a Rolls Royce or something. It has fantastic dynamics, and this particular aircraft on flightgear is really well kitted out. I mean, look at the detail on that. And usually when I don't stream, I can get about 60 FPS consistently. Flightgear and in flying simulators in general don't tend to have a lot of FPS. It's just the way it goes. I was under the impression you get a lot more than that, but it just seems to be flight simulators are limited, although they look fantastic. This one looks fantastic anyway. You see the fur seats I'm sat on. Nice fur. Or maybe leather. Just imagine it's a lot better than what it looks like. Back here we have our flight observers level. So we'll have a flight observer here and a flight observer here. They may be able to intervene in the flight. Who knows? They could take turns. They could fly it halfway, and the ones could fly it halfway back. But observers usually, I don't know. I don't think an observer would be too keen on flying if it's its day off. So we're going 310 knots at 30,000 feet. We've got 430 nautical miles to go. We're on saying true airspeed is 469. Okay, that's fair enough. We got a map. We are approaching not even a halfway point. We're almost halfway. We'll give it another 15 minutes. We should be about here. we've reached halfway. We've gone past halfway now to Budapest. The weather predictions for Budapest itself are light drizzle and some winds. That's expected. It's actually a lot better than I thought it'd be. I didn't expect a lot of snow at this time of the year. It was absolutely throwing it down with snow last week when I did the same route. The aircraft itself is at 30,000 feet still. We're flying at 310 knots. We will start descending. I said I was going to wait until we got down here, but if it's going to be bad weather, we want to be down to 10,000. Sorry, not 10,000. Down to 15,000 feet, just to make sure we can still see where we're going. Obviously, going down low would make it worse visibility because of the weather. But in this case, I'm willing to risk it, just because I know getting down in that kind of weather is going to be a nightmare. We've still got 36 minutes on the clock. We've got 274 nautical miles. That's not very long at all. Half an hour is the sort of time that you probably would start descending in the real 777 aircraft, in any other aircraft for that matter. I mean, if you're in a Boeing 747, it's a big that's even bigger. 4 engines. You want to be getting down early, because slowing them down and getting them to the correct height it's like stopping an unstoppable force, really. Unless you've got down early, you're not going to do it in time. That's pretty much how it goes. And then it result in go-arounds, holding patterns, you name it. The plane will be flying around for ages. It might even run out of fuel, which has happened before. And considering that's going to be bad weather, well, moderate weather, probably IFR though. For the ILS, which is, if we zoom in to Budapest Airport, LHBP, and put data on, we can see the category of runway. So 13 right is not our target, but it's classed as an ILS category 3. So that would be minimal visibility, pretty much no visibility at all. Major storm, possibly, and worse. So you wouldn't be able to see, you probably wouldn't even be able to see the taxiway in front of you. And that's what category 3 means. It means it's really severe weather. However, there are planes that can land in it, whereas 31 right, which is our target runway, excuse me, hold on a sec, which is our target runway, 31 right is our target, as an ILS category 3 as well. So that's kind of reassuring. We know that should the weather deteriorate to such a point where we won't see anything, we will have the option to land on either runway. And we don't have a diversion airport, but judging by the map, we do have options available. We have LHKE available, we have LHSN. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, my Hungarian friends. Fantastic country. Budapest, lovely, very nice. Let me know if you've been to these airports. Let me know if they're big enough to accommodate 777s. I know that this one is, because LHBP is the main airport in Budapest, but LHTL, for example, might not be. It's an airbase, but who knows, it might not be big enough to accommodate such an aircraft. Usually require like a minimum runway length as well. Right, we've got 33 minutes on the ETA. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to program the autopilot to take us down, let's say, to 22,000 feet for now. We're still going to maintain to 320 knots, and hopefully that'll bring us into a more acceptable position, ready to intercept the approach flight, which is going to be well down below 6,000 feet at that point. Because going, as I said before, going from 36,000 in such a big aircraft down to 6,000 feet, that's 30,000 feet drop. If you're not going down at 4,000 feet a minute, you're probably not even going to make the descent in time, even if you're at 4,000 or 5,000 feet a minute. So you really want to be on the ball, and you really want to make sure the aircraft is programmed correctly using the FMC, which is the flight management computer, and you can check the data on this this side panel here. I can't remember the name of this. It's still part of the FMC system. If I go on to airport info weather, I've just checked the weather. We know it's going to be light drizzle and winds in Budapest. The pressure itself, I believe, is a little bit low. I think we're looking at 999 point something. That might be excuse me, it's a not inches, it's the other reading. I can't remember the name of it, but the pressure's low. It's not appeared on here just yet, and this doesn't really give you the option to look at the airport maps. I don't think the flight gear team have developed it well enough to put it on, or whoever developed the aircraft hasn't done it. It's still a fantastic plane to fly. I highly recommend the 777, not only because it's smooth and easy, but because it's such a big plane. It's interesting. You know, you can go on weight and payload, you can load up to 333 passengers or more. The maximum capacity on this is a lot. There's a lot of people. You got the options for stairs, jetways, baggage trucks, catering, all of it. It just makes it so much more realistic, and it puts this game into the top, easily the top three flight simulators I've ever played on. Microsoft Flight Simulator X being the first one, which was my childhood choice. It was absolutely brilliant. I'd never forget the time I spent on it. And yeah, some other flight games which are really old, something called Flight Unlimited 3, which is by Looking Glass Studios. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it came out like 20 years ago when it was fantastic. It really was. It just had everything you needed on it for a flight. Some very realistic cockpit on the beach jet as well. Okay, we're going to go ahead and set the altitude. We're going to descend approximately 2,000 feet a minute. We're going to click flight lever change. I don't know what just happened there with the engines. Right, I thought I knew how to do this. Right, let's give me a minute. It's locked onto the altitude and there doesn't seem to be a way to change it. This could be a problem. Thank God we were going to change altitude a little bit early. We are going to slow down though to about 290 knots, just to make sure we don't miss this approach. I'm assuming because I can't change the altitude that it's just going to follow the flight plan. But I've assumed this in the past with this aircraft and it hasn't. It has given its altitude at the side there. It does say we have to go down to about 4,500 feet. We don't have long to get there. We got about half an hour to get there, but it's not giving me the option to change it. I don't know. I'm really not sure about this. This is where I start to get a bit thrown off by the 777's autopilot system and the FMC. The FMC is programmed correctly. It's got the approach on. As you can see on the map, it's expecting to fly this approach. It's just the change in altitude. If it doesn't start changing altitude soon, it might not do it, which is going to leave us a bit of a tricky situation. If I click flight lever change, it should allow me to change it. just running through that cruise and descent checklist, checking our fuel quantity and our lights. Lights are on. ATIS airport information, anti-ice, passenger signs. I'll put that on auto. Reset MCP altitude. Landing performance. Anti-ice, landing altitude, recall, contact approach, radio altitude, barometric minimum. We need to set that. Auto brakes, we don't need to do any of that yet. We can go on to the oh, my mistake. Still another page. Altimeter reset to local. It seems to be adjusting itself. I can see the mountains just below us. Either that or we're not really at 30,000 feet. Which is a problem. There. Approach. Right, I've clicked flight level change. Let's see if this works. Right, okay. I changed the altitude, clicked flight level change, and then it did it. So, if you're wondering why you can't turn that off, you have to change it on here, and then you have to click flight level change afterwards. So I shouldn't have flown without learning, but we want to be descending a lot slower than that. There's mountains below us, for goodness sake. For the most part, an uneventful flight, but nonetheless enjoyable. Nonetheless enjoyable indeed. Budapest itself is going to be welcoming us with open arms in approximately 25 minutes. And Paris says goodbye to us for the 4th time this week. And don't forget, this sort of stream will be repeated in the future. I will adjust the time, the flight time, and the destinations, the departure to suit viewers and my own preferences. I do want to do them a bit shorter. 2 hours is a little bit long. It's just the majority of it is not really flying, it's just cruising. I do like London to Paris, that's the shorter route, only takes about 45 minutes. We can also do places like Frankfurt International. We can go east to places such as Prague, that shouldn't take too long, maybe an hour. So I reckon an hour, maybe 45 minutes to an hour and a half are the absolute maximum in terms of duration for these flights. So any suggestions on that, let me know. Just changing this screen here and changing it to approach, which could be on plan, and it shows the plan. This isn't working for some reason on the captain's screen. It is, however, working. Right, we are low to terrain, so we're going to go ahead and change. Just maintain 20,000. I did not expect such mountainous terrain in the area we are in Budapest are, of course. I really hope we are. And yes, getting back to this screen doesn't work for the captain, it does work for the co-pilot though. We could change that. Plan option, we see our plan if it was working. The map option does seem to be working. VOR or ILS approach, and it even gives us the ILS frequency, which is 109.5. We can check on the route manager that we do in fact want to land on 31 right, and it's saying that 109.5 is the frequency. Now we'll have to check that, just double check that. 31 right, 109.5. 31 right, 31 right, 109.5, so it's correct. The frequency is correct. We can do this through the menu, or we can do it down here on the radios. I prefer to do it on the menu, so go on equipment, radio settings. 109.5 is actually already tuned in for us, thank goodness. So that means we won't have to do it ourselves. The computer's managed it for us. just going to go ahead and lower the aircraft's altitude and set it for 80,000 feet. So what we do is we select it, we click flight level change, and it should start descending. It should do. Saying about 400 feet a minute. I'm just wondering if we should go maybe 15,000 feet. I'm thinking we should. Or maybe 13,000. That would be a good one. About 1,000 feet a minute. Or 1,200 feet a minute. Let's do that. As long as we can see the ground, which we can, we'll have a visual reference to the runway. The clouds are alright, you know, they're not thunderous or raining heavily as far as I can tell. It might be drizzling a little bit as we get down there. Speed control is still on. We're going to leave speed control by the autothrottle throughout the entire approach, descent and approach and landing. So you'll be able to see how that works. If we go back on help on aircraft checklists, we got our approach checklist. We don't need that yet. We do need a descent checklist though. We're just going to run through that once more. Auto brakes. We don't need auto brakes. This aircraft might be big and heavy, but we can do make do with the reverse thrusters and the speed brake. And we can apply manual braking if we need to. Speed 250 below 10,000. Right, that's all complete. Approach checklist. I don't have to do this yet, but I'm just giving myself enough opportunity to see what's expected. I know what's expected. We need to, obviously when we're on the approach, we need to have those flaps down and the gear down, and we need to be below 10,000 feet. We'll be around 5,000 feet, 4,000 maybe, going about 200 and maybe 250. I don't know. We can't be too sure about it. And something else that just occurred to me is I did mention this earlier, was the approach is slightly steep in terms of its turn. I don't think a 777 is going to do that, and that's relatively close to the runway, so I am going to extend. If it might turn in time, but it doesn't look like it will. We want to be going down the glide slope. Maybe there's another way to change the approach. We might be to extend our flight out here, turn round, and then go from the approach that way. This is why it's so important to get down to the correct altitude, because if we're not, we're going to be really struggling on this part. We'll be descending rapidly and turning at like 25-30 degree bank angle, which is not ideal in a landing configuration. You know, flaps down, gear down, you're looking at a stall, and you're going to get a wing drop, which is probably going to kill everyone on board. So it's absolutely crucial not to do those sort of manoeuvres on approach. We're inbound approximately, we're approximately 12 minutes to landing. The temperature at Budapest airport is minus 16 degrees. Our landing runway is 31 right. We have a wind direction of 320 degrees. Our fuel consumption is good. It's not very much. Our gross weight is still 400 odd thousand. As you can see, we've got airport info, weather. We can see our options. We know we're on 31 right. When we land, that's not our airport. That's just whatever pops up. It has given us the local pressure though, 3006 on this. We might need to change that. We're pretty much in Budapest now, so we can change 3006 on the altimeter instrument settings. 3006. I have increased the speed to 320 knots. I just want to get there quickly. Obviously, we're sitting around watching the cruises, not the most interesting thing. The most interesting part is start up, take off, preparation for landing and landing itself. Of course it is. I really am looking for feedback on like the graphics, and I'll go ahead and stop the timer now. It says 6 minutes. That's probably a little bit off, to be honest. We were estimated for 6 minutes, 12 minutes and 10 minutes, but we're there now, so we can just estimate based on our speed and our altitude. So I'll go ahead and pause that. I'll get rid of it, so you don't have to look at it anymore. And that should disappear from the screens. I have to say I'm excited for this landing though. We are fully packed. We have 333 souls on board. That includes the cabin crew itself. Now I'm looking out the window. It's looking pretty overcast. We might have a very, very bad approach if it's windy as well. .55 nautical miles, rapidly coming into contact with the ILS localizer. So we're going to go ahead and try and set this up early. I have descended down to 11,000 feet. It's 8 or 9 minutes, we're really not far at all, to approach number 6, at which point we can start to, because we're at 11,000, we can start to descend rapidly then to flight level below 4,500 by the time we get to 31 right. I think we can do that turn. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. If it can't, I'll disengage the autopilot and manual fly it. I'm going to manual fly it on the last minute of the approach anyway if things aren't going great. Judging by my previous experiences on this aircraft, sometimes things can go so wrong that the aircraft will literally spiral out of control at the last minute and fly itself off the runway. So yeah, that's the sort of thing that you get with the 777 on flightgear. Or it might have been that I was using it incorrectly, so if it was, I'm going to try and improve for this flight. If not, it could be rather embarrassing. We could be ending on a low note. Okay, as you can see, we're within 46 nautical miles of the airport. The ILS localizers come on for 31 right. 31 right. We have other traffic inbound to that location, of course. It's a big airport. So we go ahead and zoom in here. We want to make sure it's looking pretty clear. There's no aircraft in the way. This is their level. Flight level 24,500 feet. 300 knots. We're going 320 knots and we're still quite some distance from it. 691 nautical miles though. That's quite the achievement in a 2-hour flight. At 320 knots average cruise speed. Okay, now we're approaching Budapest. We're going to start reducing our speed and descending through 10,000 feet. In preparation for landing, we might stick some flaps on as well. So, we change the altitude. I'm going to change the speed first. We're going to change that to 250, below 10,000. And we're going to descend to, let's just check our route manager. We want to be below 4,500, so we'll set it for 4,000. Click flight level change. So now it's going to start descending to 4,000 feet at 250 knots. Again, we might have to slow it down even more. As you can see, the speed is dropping rapidly. The height isn't, because it's only going 400 feet a minute. We want to be going down a lot more than that. About 2,000 feet a minute. I'll probably just wait until we get to that approach to stick it on. Stick the flaps on, I mean. Or pull the flaps on. Dirty up the aircraft and prepare. As long as we're below 4,500 feet, by the time we get on the glide slope, we should be alright. We need to stop looking at this route manager and start looking at the actual visual surroundings, because we're so close to the approach and the landing. We should be able to see imminently the airport. 777, if you haven't figured it out already, one of the best Boeing aircraft ever made. Absolute giant. 2 engines. Huge aircraft, in fact. It has can house up to 3 or almost 3, probably over 350 people. So that's an incredible amount. As you can see, the lateral navigation is now guiding us on that approach. We're going to have to start descending quite rapidly and sticking some flaps on. We're going to arm the speed brake. Passenger signs are on. People should be sat in the seats. No one is smoking. The glide slope itself, I talked through this earlier. Okay, just ignore that. That's a slight overspeed warning because we're descending really rapidly at this point. So we're going to just increase that speed to 200. See, this is what I was talking about not descending in time. You end up forcing the aircraft down at such a fast rate that but it's handling the turn with no issues. It's just descending so rapidly that it's causing issues with speed. We're going to go ahead and drop the speed down to 160. 70, just because we're a heavy aircraft. We've got a lot of people on board. We don't want to be risking it. We should really knock another notch of flaps in there. As soon as we get to this, like I was saying, the glide slope is there. So we want to be clicking localizer when we're on the localizers. That will be here. When we're on the localizer, we click that. We wait till we get to the glide slope and we press approach. We should really press approach before it, and then it should lock on it automatically. You don't have to press it exactly the right minute. If you press it after the glide slope, you're going to miss it, which means the aircraft probably won't land itself. We should see some changes down here as well. Okay. We do have light drizzle. We have oh my goodness. So remember, this is a category 3 runway. We are below 4,000 though, 4,500. I'm going to be at 2,500 for the approach. We need to be descending quite rapidly. Another notch of flaps. 2 notches of flaps actually. Just get the aircraft to slow down a little bit. The weather's, I said it before, it's a lot worse. I thought I was expecting light drizzle and some wind. This is more than light drizzle. This is throwing it down. Right, so now we can turn the localizer on. We select localizer. Yeah. We don't have to look at this. We're going to be below 2,500 feet. We are going to keep an eye on our map, and we're going to stick the landing gear down at this point. We've got our auto throttle armed. As I said before, this ADI the attitude indicator, directional indicator, etc. is going to should come up with landing if we're doing it correctly, or maybe not. We're on the localizer. I think we could press approach at this point and it should.
2500.
Okay, we're getting the warning now. We don't want to miss that glide slope. We do not want to miss that glide slope at all. I'm going to select approach anyway. If we miss it, well, we'll have to just manually fly it, because I'm not going around at this point. Selected approach, it should lock on. Any input by me would just result in the aircraft turning off the autopilot. Right, we've crossed the glide slope and we don't seem to be descending, so I think we've missed it. We're gonna have to be doing a manual. Oh no, there it is. We've locked on to the localizer. Glide slope, my mistake. Budapest is looking really drizzly, miserable. Land free, there we go. So now the plane should automatically land itself. I have to admit, this is the first time I've done it successfully. If everything goes smoothly, we should be down on the ground with the aircraft fully in control. I have got the controls myself, so if anything goes wrong, we can take over. I hope anyone watching this is enjoying it. This is a fantastic thing to watch. A 777 landing in Budapest in very harsh weather. Very harsh weather indeed.
1000.
We have our call outs, we're at 1,000 feet. There's a bit of a discrepancy between the call outs and the altitude indicator. Thank you, co-pilot. I can see the runway in sight. It's very dark. This is probably borderline class category 2 approach at this point. Fantastic. I'm not doing anything at this. I'm not doing anything. The ILS is good, it's locked on. I'm going to prepare to disengage the autopilot in case it goes wrong. So we're going to click, put our mouse over the AP disengage. 400 feet. 300. Minimums. Don't worry about minimums, we're already there. 200 feet. Prepare to disengage. If it goes wrong, it should land. It's got flare and roll out. 100. Right, flare. Yeah. Engage the reverse thrusters ourselves. At this point we need to disengage the autopilot. It's fantastic. That was an absolutely fantastic landing. We had a little bit of an issue there on the runway. The autopilot started veering us off to the right. We shouldn't have been using it to automatically land the aircraft. I just tried it on this occasion because somebody else said that you could. It did go well. We should have disengaged it once we were literally a feet above the runway, a foot above it. We've landed successfully. We're going to retract all the flaps, turn the reverse thrusters off, and turn out here. Welcome to Budapest. I hope you enjoyed the flight. We're going to be making our way down to the terminal, the gates, at which point you'll be free to depart. And I really appreciate anybody coming along for this. It's been one of the most exhilarating landings I've ever been on. Fantastic weather. Fantastic weather for it. What I'll do for the next flight, the 777 seems to spawn in from the last place you parked, so I'll depart from Budapest on the next flight, and that can be a regular thing. We depart and we land, and then we depart from the place we landed at. we're going to take our parking space at the end on the far right. Scenery's alright, but the airport itself is not particularly well detailed. There we go. That's it. Thank you for flying with the Aeroflot Airlines. I appreciate